Hello, FewCandy here, and welcome back to another episode of Cities Skylines. And we're back in Auridon after our forestry build last time out. Super pleased with how this has turned out and the fact that all of that traffic has just disappeared. I think for any of you placing in the storage yards, you do just remember, like, you will get an influx of traffic at first, but it will go it will go away as things start to balance themselves out, so it's not something to massively stress over. And of course you could turn the storage facilities to empty if you so wish, but I prefer to keep them on balance because I find sometimes when you put them on empty or fill, it kind of messes a little bit with the game mechanics a bit more without having any mods on, etc. to help it. So with this, I'm quite happy with how it's ended up in terms of the efficiency. But moving on for today, we're actually heading away from the suburbs and back in towards the downtown area because flying around Auridon, I found this really nice big green space here by the port. This view of the downtown, I'm absolutely loving. Like, I really feel like we need to turn this area into a park. And as well, because if you go slightly further up the hill, you get a really nice view out over the port and actually towards the nuclear power station over that side. Like, I really, really like this area and I was going to develop it. But then as soon as I went down to ground level, I was like, hang on a second, no, I've got to maintain this sightline. So this is going to be a really huge country park. When I was thinking about it, it actually reminded me of a country park in Southampton called Royal Victoria Country Park, and this is kind of similar to this, where it is based on the waterfront, and opposite it, it has a massive power plant as well, so the views aren't that dissimilar. But it's a really nice open green space with one little unique building right in the middle of it. So that's what we're going to kind of use as inspiration today. You can go and check it out on Google Earth if you so wish. I won't flash it up for now. But I think we can turn this into a really nice, unique, open park, which is not something that there is masses of in Auridon. Like, I'm terrible at leaving open green space, so I think that's really what we want to do in this area today. So let's crack on. Okay, so let's firstly connect in the road connection here, and I'm just going to use a bog standard vanilla road for this. We're going to have it forced to elevation just so we can cross this railway bridge quite nicely, and we're going to bring it in across, I think, about like that. Now let's use move it to make sure these heights are aligned appropriately. In fact, I want to make sure that that is on the ground and then we can align to that and we should get some quite nice heights there. Obviously that pillar is right on the railway, so let's just shift that over a little bit so we don't have any major train accidents. And we've got enough clearance there, so happy with that. So firstly over here we're going to have a little look at car parking. I think actually what I will use for the main entrance to the road is one of these 2-lane country lanes, because I want it to feel quite sort of nice and not rural necessarily, but country park-like as you drive in, and people walking along the verges as well I think is quite a nice touch. We might upgrade just the entrance bit to a normal road as we come down and do it. And I'm going to kind of curve it around so it has a natural flow to it. We'll bring it down to the end there. Then let's use parking lot roads to get in some car parks. So the visitor centre is going to be right at the open entrance here, so I think I quite like quite a big car park. We're going to use the sort of poorly maintained car parks for this. So we'll just drag one in right here, a slightly larger one. Let's turn all snapping off as well so we can have a bit more freedom over how it is placed. Now the levels of the terrain here are a little bit dodgy, so let's raise this up and make sure it's the same height as this node here, and we can do some nice details to block that off from the railway that side. Let's again just level the height as we shift that over, and then we can give them a nice entrance. If we connect it up with a rural road, actually, what does it look like? And of course we want it forced to ground. Yeah, that's not too bad, I don't mind that. Yeah, we can do that. Oh, actually, what's this elevated rural road? Oh, yes. Oh, yes, I like that a lot. Yeah, we'll leave that one in. With the protected walkways on it. Keen on that. Okay, so we'll have our first car park in here. Let's go back to parking lot roads and we'll put some smaller car parks as we go down, because Royal Victoria Country Park is very much like this. There are sort of car parks hidden away all over the main access road. So we'll bring in a few like this. We'll have one that just literally comes straight off here, I think. Let's snap into the angle of that. Yeah, we'll just bring that out like that. And then a slightly larger one is needed, I think, at the end. So we'll bring out a 2-pronged car park. Just like that, so people can park down this end and kind of get down more towards the waterfront, closer to this end, I think. So that should do. Let's again get our rural road here and connect this one in. Forcing to ground again. Let's remember that. So yeah, quite happy with how that looks. And what I might do here as well is with Surface Painter. You know, ideally I'd probably make some of these car parks gravel. But I think we'll use Surface Painter and the clipping tool to get rid of all of this concrete surface painter around the edge of the car parks. And then we can do some nice detailing around them to help them blend in. It is slightly annoying that it all ends up ruined, as that makes it very obvious, but if we put some nice rocks and trees and bushes around it, then it should be fine. So I'll just drop in the car parking spaces quickly, like that. So let's have a little talk about what we're going to do for the visitor centre entrance here. Now there is one asset that comes with the mid-century modern content creator pack, which is the roadside diner. Absolutely love this asset, and we are yet to use this in Auridon, but I think that this can make quite a cute visitor centre entrance. So we have a little look at it. Actually, let's not look at it in the shadow. This end, you can see it's got these beautiful stone walls with the modern glass, which I think just really, really works for something like this. Now we do have this massive diner sign, and unfortunately we can't bob it off. So we can only bob off the brand if we wanted to and have a different thing on here. So we could do that, but the restaurant sign does stay. But there is no way of getting rid of it. I do want to bob off the car parking spaces though, so let's go ahead and do that. So we'll just remove all of those from the front of it. But we will have to leave the sign. However, what we can do is if we come in to move it, we can reset this building and change the sign. So we don't have to have Balco's, we can have Janet's, or Maddie's, or Rosie's, Balco's Diner. I think they're the options that we've got here. And of course we could change that using Bob to a completely different sign if we wanted to, but let's call it Janet's. I quite like that. So I think in terms of orientation, how we will have it is at a slight offset angle, just like this. And then we can kind of create a bit of a picnic area out front as well. And we could always, of course, come in and add some of our props from Plazas and Promenades DLC. So things like, I'm thinking this little ice cream hut would be quite appropriate for the start of a park entrance. There's definitely one, at least, in the Royal Victoria Country Park. So I think this would be quite cute, and this kind of covers up this big plain wall at the front here as well. So let's drop that in there. And then we could start to create a really nice picnic area out this side. So we could use some of these shelters, which I think we will do, with some picnic benches underneath it. But again, we'll come to that when we come to do some detailing around this area. And we probably do want to change up this surface too. So I think what we will use is a bit of gravel over here. Let's find our gravel brush tool, which is probably going to be the easiest way of doing this. And we'll start to paint out a little bit of a gravel area in which we can have our picnic benches and sort of welcome area for the start of our park. Now, of course, it does want road access. Now I've moved it further away, it is going to want that. So let's go to our 1 unit roads and we'll use our concrete pavement road for this. And we're just going to bring out a very small section like that, which will lead up to it. Then, of course, we can just get surface painter for this. And our brush tool doesn't seem to work on it, but we can get surface painter and we can cover up that gravel bit so we don't even see it. But it does mean cars will be driving in and out of here, so we want to be a bit wary of that when we're placing our picnic benches. But of course then we do want to actually create this into a park area. So let's go ahead and zone a district over this entire thing, like that. And we will give this a name as well. And we're going to name it after one of my top tier Patreons. So we are going to call this the Martin Shellert Country Park. Thank you so much, Martin, for all of your really super generous support. I really appreciate it. And I hope you like this park once you see the finished result. It does have views out onto some sort of boats. And really beautiful views across the city, let's not forget that. So there we go, and of course we do want to get in our park gates. Now because I want this to feel like a really open space, I'm just going to use the invisible gates for this. So I think we'll actually go for gravel main entrance here. So let's just spin this around, and we have got the road coming up here. So I think if we place it in right about here, that should get access to it. And then of course we can continue the pathway on from there. So let's go ahead and grab our gravel pass. We'll snap it into that node and we'll just bring it out so we know where that entrance is going to flow. We'll do all the path networks a little bit later on. Now right by the entrance here as well, I would really like a really huge adventure playground, which again is something that is in the Royal Victoria Country Park that I was referencing previously. I think this would be quite a good starting point for that. just using the main city park because it's got this super nice little climbing frame on it. I think we'll set this out this side because what I would like to do with this actually is where this side of it doesn't have any hedging on it, I'm going to extend it out and we'll do some detailing in the detailing time lapse to make this even bigger and add in more playground assets and make it kind of like a pretty cool shape, to be honest, as well. Now I do just want to level out the terrain here because that obviously dips very significantly at the side of that playground. So let's make sure that that is all nicely smoothed out around this entranceway. Then we can start to flow down the hill towards the water there too. Quite happy with that. Now, of course, we do also want to add in toilets for our guests, and there's a number of different options. So we could either use the amusement or the zoo toilets, but I think actually just the basic park toilet is probably the nicest to go with this main entrance building. It's kind of got this white brick on it and the white roof sits quite well with the diner. So I think that this is appropriate in this case. I'm actually going to sit this orientation so that it flows onto this main picnic plaza that we've got here. And again, we do just want to use... Whoa, not like that. Not like that at all. We do want to use a little bit of surface painter here, a very small brush size, just to change this into gravel so that it flows really nicely into that area, just like so. So the next thing that I do want to talk about is the centrepiece and what is going to sit in the middle of this park here. Now, the Royal Victoria Country Park, it is a really kind of old, almost church-like looking building with red brick. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something pretty different. And we are going to use the mothership that came with the mid-century modern content creator pack as well. Now, this is an incredibly unique looking building, but as it's a park, it is happy to be inside a park area. So this is what we are going to use. Now, there are a couple of entrances on this. This is very much like a almost delivery entrance, whereas the other side of it is more of the main entrance. I think it's quite important for us to put the main entrance pointing out towards the essentially main entrance of the park. So let's go ahead and place this in. Now, I feel like that is okay. I'm probably going to trim back some of these trees a little bit so we've got a bit more open green space around it, but the palm trees 100% do not go. So all of these are going to be removed. We're not going to have those. Just checking there's nothing on any of the sub buildings, and yeah, this is fine. Now, my plan with this is to make a super duper really nice rooftop bar area on this particular area here, because this view out to the skyline is just stunning. And of course, if we look across to the port as well, it's also a great view. So I feel like this is really a perfect place to have a bar, cafe, restaurant style area in the middle of this park. Tons and tons of things to look at. And as well, if I just very quickly change the time of day, let's get out of Bob there, and we'll have a nice sunset. You can see from here, the sun is setting right behind those cranes in the port, and it is just like gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. So I really want to make some kind of feature out of this massive rooftop that we have here. So what I was kind of thinking with this, and the reason for choosing this, is I was thinking someone's come into the park, someone's bought the park, Martin Scheller has bought the park, and decided to put a concert venue right in the middle of it. And maybe the park is years and years and years old, thousands of years old. We're going to do a super nice little waterfront down here as well. And they've decided to come in and place this really modern structure right in the middle of it to host concerts and like maybe like amateur theatre productions and that sort of thing. That's what we're going for. That's what we're going for here. And in fact, actually, with this sign, I think we can use a little bit of Move It here to reset this, because I'm pretty sure, yeah, we get the rocket sign. That's really what I want to see here. I'm going to call it the Rocket Theatre. That's what we've got in the middle. In fact, let's change the name. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to jump into a quick time lapse now so that we can create that rooftop bar, and I'm just really going to be using the same techniques that we did use. Oh, I'm very unhappy over here, over in this district, where we're going to raise up some plopped grass and create our little bar area on the top of it, maybe a little bit of retaining wall or some kind of wall needed around it as well, because the trouble with this is these air conditioning fans cannot be bobbed off, really, really annoyingly. So I'm going to have to raise the grass because I want it to be green as well. This is a park area. I want it to be like astroturfy green. I'm going to have to raise it up above this air conditioning unit. So it does mean we're going to need wool around the outside to cover up that gap. But that's all absolutely fine. So let's go ahead and do that in a time lapse now. Okay, so yeah, here we go. I'm actually super pleased with how this has come out. So we have just put fencing all the way around the edge, which was a little bit tricky to line up with Propline Tool and then raise up, but I think it has come out all right. And then of course put in our ploppable grass AstroTurf surface up here just to give it a nice green touch, which I thought was needed. We're in the middle of a park, so I like this green kind of fake grass surface up here. And then down this end we have, again, just like anarchied in a little cafe asset. We've got a couple of little tiki bars down that side as well, and this is all functional, so hopefully we'll see. The people probably unfortunately pop up through the AstroTurf, come and use this. I've plopped in a couple of ploppable sims just for fun in here too. But yeah, I think it works quite nicely. We've got these little prop fencing to mark off where the area where this little restaurant cafe is. Obviously overlooking the downtown there, and then out to the port as well. So yeah, nice little views. And little tiki bars with some deck chairs and things out this side. Because out this side as well, I would add, you've got a view out to the cathedral and the castle over there. Like, it's all really, yeah, it's quite a nice little point, really. Nuclear power plant, if you fancy that. And then we have just drawn a path down here as well, and there is an invisible path running all the way around the outside of this so that people can walk round. Then we'll connect the other path networks going around the park into this. Again, we just use tiles using Propline Tool here to create this nice big circle all the way round, filled in inside right up to the entranceways there as well, just to give it a little bit of extra realism, but really pleased with how this has come out actually. I think it's a nice upgrade to the asset. Okay, so now I do want to start talking a little bit about the waterfront. Because as you know, most of this park is going to be open green spaces. We'll have the odd gazebo and things like that to attract guests. So we've got Sims walking around the park as well. We want to attract people to it. But I do want a really nice waterfront down here. Now again, a little bit inspired by Royal Victoria Country Park in Southampton. I am going to use keys for this. And we're going to just use the simple seawall, which we've used quite a lot all over Auridon, so I think we'll just keep that theme in with this one. I'm going to leave a little bit of space between this and the fishing harbour. And then what we're going to do is just bring this slightly further inland, but round the outside of this coast. So we're going to lower the land down on the outside of it between the quay and the actual water here. We'll try and snap it off so we can get this nicely in around this corner. And then we'll have, yeah, a little bit of a beach area beneath the quay, which I think would be a nice little touch. So we get our stairs as well, actually. I'm going to upgrade a couple of segments. So we've got walking access up and down these quays. And let's just get a forest brush and clear out some of these trees along the quay wall there, because we've still got anarchy on, obviously. Then we'll go into our terrain tools, and I'm going to grab level terrain. Make this a little bit bigger, but not too big. And what I kind of want to do is get it down so it's quite close to the water. So we've got like a nice beach front here beneath these quays, but a decent level down from where the quay is. Something like that should do nicely. We are playing, aren't we? So we may get a bit of flooding. May get a little bit of flooding. We might need to make this a little bit bigger, actually. That's going to help us to just, there we go, get this in nicely, and then we can smooth out the bank going down into the ocean, because we don't really want to have a kind of cliff going down into the sea. But we do want a decent sized beach here. As you can see, this quay is definitely not equal all the way round. It is sloping up down towards this other end. I kind of don't mind that too much, but it does mean we need to just drop it slightly, because we can obviously see this second level to the quay beneath it, which we don't want. So let's grab this with move it, and we're just going to drop it down with the page down keys, all of these nodes down here, until that is nicely hidden in that ground. And I don't mind little lumps and bumps like this as well, because ultimately this is a beach area. It's not going to be completely smooth. Then we'll grab our sand tool, and we need to make this quite big to help it to go in, and we'll tidy up alongside the other side of the quay as well when we're done here. But let's give ourselves a nice stony beach. A nice Auridon style beach. That's what we're after. And we're just going to smooth this out a little bit. So I'm actually going to drag it down further underneath the sea here so that we can get a slightly smoother slope down. Because obviously as we're doing that, we're losing a little bit of our beach space. Like, I don't want it to be massive. I want it to be big enough that it's comfortable for people to sit on. But what I want is this to be really like a proper shoreline going straight down into the ocean, not cliff face, but very smooth, gradual slope down into the sea. And we can come back actually and use slope tool for this. So we could click out here and then just gradually bring that down in a nice gradual slope like that is probably a good way to do this. I just don't want to lower too much of our beach area and lose it. That is the danger with this method. Okay, so I don't mind that. I quite like this sort of like slightly interesting shoreline shape. I wonder if, yeah, it's probably going to disappear, I was going to say, as the water settles. But I don't mind that too much. I think what we will do here, though, is raise these keys up very slightly this end, because it is a little bit low at the moment in comparison to the other ones. It'll be quite a slopey walk down. Okay, so there we go. I think that that will do quite nicely. And then we can come in with a bit of beach detailing along the waterfront here as well. And the good thing about this is I think if we start to put some of our gazebos and the such like along this wall, it's not going to push the terrain up too much this side, I don't think. I mean, I could be totally wrong about this, but we'll have a little look. Yeah, it does a little bit. It does a little bit, but it's not actually too bad. Yeah, we can do things like that along the quay wall, and obviously we'll connect that into the path network to help that blend in a little bit. And then I am thinking on this corner, there is one park asset that I very rarely use, which is the biodome. And I think this might be quite a nice, interesting addition to this corner of the park here. Just have another kind of focal point of interest for people visiting. I'm wondering to myself that that is maybe a little bit close to the rail line there. So let's just move it in a touch this way. And we'll get a forest brush again just to clear that out a little bit. Yeah, that feels like a slightly more appropriate placement. I was trying to see if there was anything actually in it then. I think again it just gives us a little bit of extra something for people visiting this park, something for them to come and see. I'm wondering if we are actually going to get any people coming down here at all. We may want to have a little look at this. Let's raise the ticket price because actually more expensive parks do attract people. We'll give it a main park, and I mean every time I look at this it's in the red, but we're going up. The balance is going up, so I think what we will do is, yeah, we'll add an advertising campaign to this. See if that helps attract any more people. Let's had 8 visitors so far, so clearly some people are coming in. So in terms of the path network, I am just using the bog standard park life path, so I think what we're going to do is just make this super duper straight and bring it right down to join up with the quays down this side. Now I don't really mind if it joins into the fishing harbour. If people can walk over to the fishing harbour, it's not the end of the world. Like the park that I'm talking about in Southampton also has a little boat yard attached to it right next to it, so I mean a lot smaller than this massive port. This is just the fishing end of it, so I'm kind of not too concerned with people being able to walk in there. I think something like that looks quite nice. We'll just get rid of those little bits where the path line breaks. Just gradually comes down the hill, and we've got the decorations on this. We've got the lights and the benches, which I do like, and then that connects onto the quay there. And then I think what we will do is have other pathways that just run along the path. Kind of almost follow some of the contour lines a little bit, and we'll keep it relatively straight because again this is how it is in that Royal Victoria Country Park that I keep mentioning. Go and check it out on Google Earth if you want to see what I'm talking about. And this is completely different to all other parks that I do when I have all the really flowy flowy networks and such like, but I think that this will suit this type of park. Very heavily landscaped and lots of open green space. That's really what I want to see here. And we can make this a little bit more interesting with a bit of node controller as well, so we can widen out some of these joins. And they flow really nicely just using this bog standard city park life path. Yeah, like how that goes. And as well with node controller, you can see here we've got a massive dip. Let's just go in there and click slope, and this will help to get rid of that like huge jump in the terrain. And that's a lot better there. And same thing for here. I think all of the nodes around this park are going to want to be like sloped. And we've got a bit of work to design the trees, I think, down this end. So I think what we will do for now, before we come on to the detailing, is just remove most of these trees from around here. I want it quite treed in around the biodome, but we can design that pretty nicely when we come to do it. Maybe a bit more woodland here, which protects all the car park from the actual port, but quite open along the coast, because I want people to be able to just like enjoy this park and look out everywhere. Walk their dog, throw their ball for their dog or their stick or whatever in all of this open green space. Visit the theatre or the cafe in the centre here. The biodome if they want to come and see some nice exotic plants is what I'm assuming is probably in there. And of course the visitor centre and the adventure playground. I think we'll have another playground as well throughout the complex, but that is basically going to be the overall shape So it needs a lot of detailing, natural detailing around the car parks, lots of kind of manicured trees, maybe a couple of tree-lined paths in here as well. But of course, maintaining that green open space is the key thing for this. And what I will do down here is throw in a couple of condos that are going to have really, really nice views out over the harbour from here, and of course across to the downtown if they're lucky to have a balcony pointing out that way. But we're going to go ahead and do that in the detailing time lapse now. So I'll jump into it and I'll be right back. Okay, so let's just start at the entrance over here. Now, I have used a couple of toll booths and tried to make them look like they're parking ticket machines you usually find at the main visitor entrances. I don't know if that works, but it's the best I can do. And behind the diner, I fenced this off and we've got a bit of a staff area back here. So I put in a few golf buggies down either end, a couple of trash bins. I'm figuring staff can get round on golf buggies, so I thought that was quite a nice little touch. Got the little ice cream stall as we put in, and then I've just complemented that with all of these little pergolas and the benches underneath, which I thought was a nice touch for the opening area around the restaurant. And then coming up here, we have tried to build a makeshift adventure park kind of extension to the little playground that's over that side. So I did use some tree stumps here and then a little pole. I don't know if this works or not, but it looks kind of cool, and it's the best I could do without having PO to be able to manipulate assets and spin them around a little bit more, turn them off their main axes. So yeah, I think it's alright. I think it's alright. You can let me know what you think in the comments. It's a shame that no one can use this. I really wish Sims could use props, and then it really would be pretty cool, I think. All around this whole area, we've added in tons of undergrowth and obviously a little bit of forest brush as well to make it feel very natural and overgrown around these main entranceways and all around the car parks as well. I'm actually really liking, there's no one barking at them, but I'm really liking the sort of feel of these car parks with the unmarked roads around them, lots of overgrowth, trees. They feel very secluded. I've put in a little bus turnaround here. Now we'll come back to that in a second, but we have got a cute little bus stop. So we're going to bring some public transport in here because I did notice there are absolutely hundreds of Sims walking in here. Like we had a flood. Actually, it's not too bad at the moment, but there are a lot of people walking into the park. So I think giving them a bit of public transit is pretty important. Here you can see just the kind of secluded nature of these car parks. I'm trying to make it feel like a big national park car park. Then same at the back over here, we've added in a few more toll booths to look like ticket machines because it's a bit further away from the main entrance. And then we come into the main park itself. So lots of undergrowth around these natural sections that we've got at the bottom here. I've put in a couple of little fire pits because I wanted something relatively secluded. It's a little bit jarring with the fire, but I wanted to make sure that Sims were actually walking down here and using these natural paths. So we've got this one kind of forested section here and then this other forest walk up this side with a similar thing. I actually put in a bouldering site down this end as well because it was quite close to rocks down by the water again, which we've used some sinking rocks here. Oh no, and I've just noticed the tree in it. Let's move these trees back. That's better. But yeah, I tried to make it feel very secluded. We've added in gravel path all the way around the biodome so Sims can walk around that and then down onto the quays, onto the waterfront here, where I've just added benches along the top of it, kept a lot of it quite open. Sims are actually walking along here and using it, which is great to see. And then I've added a couple of things on the beach, so this should bring people down here. In fact, there we go. There is a Sim right there. I've got an invisible pathway leading off the quay. He's going to disappear into the wall and float up now. I don't even know where he's going to reappear in that one. I mean, yeah, oh, right over there. Got a couple of canoes, which I thought was a nice touch. Then I have just put just a few odd Sims, which are very hard to see on our sand texture here. A couple of little Sims hanging around. There's another little deck chair set over here with a mother and her daughter. That's what I was going for. Going to have a nice day at the beach. The daughter's sitting very upright and very proper there. Looking out onto the nuclear power plant. But you know what? This is what this park is like in Southampton that I was taking it from. It literally looks out onto a power plant. So yeah, it is what it is. Added in a little toilet block, another playground and gazebo down here again, just to bring people down here. Adds a bit more attraction to the waterfront too of the park. Little food truck here with a couple of Sim props outside it too. Just waiting, like she's waiting patiently for her food there. And then I've just tree lined some of these paths, which yeah, looks pretty cool, I think, just with these alders. Very heavily repeated pattern there, but I think it works just for this main kind of path around there. Kept it very open, obviously, around the Rocket Theatre. But yeah, that was kind of it for the national park. I kept this car park open again. This is very much like I'm going off this park that I know in Southampton and taking little bits of inspiration from it, and that is how it is. So it feels a little bit odd and jarring to me, but I don't know. I think it works. It's very not like any of the other parks that we have put in Auridon. So yeah, and you still get that amazing view when you come down to these open green spaces, even with that in front of it, of the downtown there. And looking out to the port, obviously, really, really kind of nice, secluded downtown country park. And of course I have just added in these condos here from the Hearts of Korea DLC. If you want to pick that up, please do consider using my instant gaming link, which is in the description below. It will help to support the channel, and there are huge discounts on a whole variety of games, including the Cities Skylines DLCs. Yeah, I think they work quite nicely. I'm really liking this condo at the end, and their little balconies as well. I tried to make sure the trees weren't blocking it too bad, but they get a really, really nice view of the downtown. And I think what I will do is when we come to build in this area, we will make sure it is low assets so that view is maintained for them, because I really quite like how that is. And then we just fenced it all off around the train track here, so I've kept this quite a way away from the train tracks, given a bit more space, which I felt like was, yeah, a good touch. This is slightly embanked, obviously, this side with the wooden fence. Again, a bit of protection for those residents in the condos there. But yeah, that was it. That was it. So before we sign off, let's add in the public transit. And I'm thinking we have got the bus station that Egg put into Auridon over here. And there's a couple of free stops. So I think this would be the best thing to do, is to take them from this kind of big tram bus transport hub here out to the national park. Now, like I mentioned, I have put in this bus turnaround here. So let's go ahead and use that, and we'll just add a stop in there. So let's just have a little look at the route, and it is coming up past the General Teaching Hospital, so I think we'll come back into Auridon and we'll just complete the line there. And then let's pause it, let's make sure we are selecting a good bus here. I'm thinking, not a Formula 1 car, I'm thinking we want probably a quite high capacity bus, so let's use a double decker. Yeah, we'll use this one with 65. Let's call this Martin Shellett Park line, and we'll change it to a nice kind of, let's go for a green colour. Let's go for a sort of dark green colour because it's a park. Yeah, let's do that. So yeah, there we go. So they will come into this stop and people can get nice and easily to the park. It doesn't have direct access to the main entrance, so I'm kind of fine with that. They can just walk along the side of the road and easily in. It's close enough. But I wanted just a nice separate place for those buses to turn around. But that is going to be all for today. So if you have enjoyed the episode, likes, comments and shares are really, really greatly appreciated. The reception on the forest video was just absolutely mind-blowing, so thank you so much for that. Please continue to drop your name suggestions for the forest area into the comments as well, and we'll give it a name on the next Auridon episode. There's already been a couple of really great suggestions, but keep them coming. I think I'll do a poll in the next few days to decide that name. But otherwise, that is all from me for now, so thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you again next time. Bye bye!